The final insult. The Galactic Council Hall was large and shining. Thousands of alien eyes watched from tall seats. Bright lights hung from above, and a silver platform stood in the center. This was where leaders spoke. This was where peace was, made or broken. Today it was Earth's turn to speak. The human ambassador stood calmly. He wore a dark coat, simple and plain. No weapons, no armor. His name was Ambassador Reyes. He was tall, quiet, and known for staying calm in every situation. But today the other species had a plan. A voice echoed from above. It was the voice of High Speaker Jarnock of the Zanari Empire. His kind had scales like steel and eyes like cold knives. Ambassador Reyes, Jarnock said loudly, we thank Earth for arriving, but let us be honest, you do not belong here. The crowd laughed. Some aliens clapped. Reyes didn't move. He kept his hands behind his back and looked straight ahead. Earth, Jarnock continued, has only 10 colonies, a weak fleet. No major alliances, and yet you demand a seat equal to the great powers? That is amusing. More laughter. Even the silent Drakari gave a hiss of amusement. Then came the final blow. We have voted, Jarnock said. Your claim to the resource-rich moon of Varos is denied. It now belongs to the Valdreth Empire. Reyes blinked slowly. Varos was an Earth colony. Thousands of humans lived there. They had built homes, farms, and dreams. And now, the Council gave it away, just like that. Reyes took a slow breath. He stepped forward and the laughter died down. He spoke softly, but every mic in the hall picked up his voice. Earth remembers, he said. The words were simple. No threats, no anger, just those 2 words. Then, he raised his wrist. It was a small silver band. He pressed one button. Message sent, he whispered, and he walked out. No one stopped him. The hall stayed quiet. Some looked confused, others laughed again. But far away on the dark side of the moon, something began to move. Deep beneath Earth's surface, in a hidden base called Ravenhold, a red light flashed. Code Black Phoenix. Confirmed, a woman said. In the room, men and women in black uniforms stood up. They were part of Earth's secret defense. They had waited for this moment for years. Launch protocol active, the commander said. In silent hangars, ships with no names powered on. They had no markings, no colors. They were built in secret, far from the Council's eyes. These were ghost ships, fast, deadly, invisible. And now, they were free. On Varos, a small human child looked up at the sky. She saw a ship flying toward the colony. It wasn't human. Her mother pulled her inside. The Valdreth had come to take what the Council gave them. Soldiers marched into human homes. They said it was legal. They said the Council gave them the land. The humans didn't fight back. Not yet. They just watched. They packed bags. They cried in silence. But one man stood at the edge of the forest, hidden behind trees. He wore a helmet with no lights. His armor was dark gray. He held a small device. Target confirmed, he said. The device blinked once. Then he vanished into the night. At the Galactic Trade Station, news of Earth's silence spread. No reply from Earth, one alien trader said. Maybe they gave up, another laughed. But at the edge of the system near the cold stars, something strange happened. A Zanari cargo ship stopped sending signals. Then a Valdreth patrol disappeared. No explosions. No warnings. Just silence. The Council blamed pirates, but a few knew better. A Drakari elder whispered in fear. They pressed too hard. On the Council's secure channel, a message arrived. No voice. Just text. It read, "We tried peace." The message ended. There and far away in the shadows between stars, black ships moved without sound. They didn't fly in formation. They hunted. They were fast, too fast, and they were angry. Earth had stayed quiet for years, but now humanity had been pushed too far, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. It started as a rumor. A Zanari freighter carrying medical supplies vanished near the edge of neutral space. No distress call, no signal, it simply disappeared. Its last known coordinates were marked, but when a scout team arrived days later, there was nothing. No wreckage, no bodies, no trace of a fight. The council dismissed it. Pirates, they said. It happens. But then it happened again. And again. 3 Valdreth cruisers traveling through the same sector lost contact within hours of each other. These weren't weak ships. They were well armed, guarded, and trained for battle. And yet, they too vanished into silence. No screams, no warnings. Just cold, empty space where proud fleets used to fly. On Station AZ-9, a border outpost managed by the bug-like Groni species, a technician noticed something strange. In the span of 1 week, 12 shipping routes had gone dark, not delayed, erased. The station's head officer called the council, requesting emergency reinforcements. No one replied. The council had other problems. Inside the High Council chamber, confusion turned to quiet fear. The recent losses were too many to ignore. Maps displayed blinking red zones, places where contact had been lost. At first they were scattered. Now they formed a growing circle, spreading outward like cracks in glass. "Someone is targeting us," said Councillor Lorvek, a thin, four-eyed diplomat from the Elenari people. "This is the work of rebels," another replied. "Perhaps the Groni are hiding weapons." But a Drakari general stood up slowly. His face was grim. "No," he said. "This isn't pirates. This isn't rebels. This is surgical. Quiet. Exact." "Who then?" someone asked. "What power dares to strike so many species at once?" The Drakari didn't answer. He simply looked toward the section where the human ambassador once stood. That seat was now empty. On the abandoned colony of Larka 3, a Zenari survivor ran through a burned forest. His armor was cracked, and his breath was shallow. Around him, the night was too quiet, too still. His squad had landed 2 days ago. They came to reclaim the colony after it stopped responding. What they found was a ghost town, buildings intact, food still warm on tables. No signs of battle, but no people either. Until the sun fell, they never saw the enemy, only shadows. Flashes of movement, then silence. He was the last. Now he ran, heart pounding until a voice echoed in his ear. "Stop running." He froze. Ahead of him a figure stood. Not big, not loud, just calm. A human soldier in black armor, eyes glowing faintly through the visor. "You don't belong here," the human said. The Zenari dropped to his knees. "Please," he whispered, "what do you want?" The soldier didn't answer. He simply pointed to the sky. A line of dark ships passed overhead, fast, sharp, and silent. "We're reminding you," the soldier said, "what you chose to forget." Back on the trade planet of Kelboris, news of the attack spread fast. Shopkeepers spoke in whispers. Bounty hunters refused human targets. Mercenaries canceled contracts tied to Earth. Someone painted a message on the wall near the main dock. "Humans don't roar, they whisper, and the stars listen." One alien merchant watched the words with a shaking hand. "They used to sell spices here," he muttered. "Now they sell silence." In the deep black, 2 fleets met. A Valdreth war group sent to guard a trade lane came face to face with 3 unknown ships. The human vessels had no lights, no banners, no heat signatures. The Valdreth commander opened comms. "Identify yourselves," he demanded. No answer. He sent a second signal. Then his entire fleet's systems blinked once and shut down. Weapons offline. Engines cold. Screens black. In that frozen silence, the human ships passed by. No shots fired. Just presence. Just fear. At council headquarters, emergency meetings were called. Maps were redrawn. Planets were locked down. But no one dared speak the truth aloud until a small, cracked signal arrived. It came from the outer rim, a lone survivor of a destroyed station. His voice was shaky, broken, terrified. He said just 4 words before the signal died. They're not the same. Humanity had changed. The galaxy once saw them as calm, patient, weak. But now, they were quiet for another reason. Because something old had awakened. Something buried deep inside their past. A rage they never wanted to use. A war-born silence. The kind that came before the storm. And now, every species that mocked Earth would learn the true meaning of fear. Ghost Fleet Protocol. For years, the galaxy believed Earth had only one fleet. Old warships. Limited fuel. Polite defenses. They were wrong. The truth was hidden deep within the Oort cloud, buried beneath decades of silence and shadows. There, beyond any telescope's reach, the Ghost Fleet waited. It was born from Earth's oldest fear, the fear that one day diplomacy would fail. They had prepared for that day, and now it had come. Captain Celine Ward stood on the bridge of the Hades. She was calm-focused. The ship's crew was silent behind her, each one dressed in matte black armor with no names, no ranks. They were all shadows now. On her screen, multiple red signals blinked. Fleet position confirmed, her officer said. Target sectors, locked. Celine nodded. Execute protocol. In perfect silence, ships came to life. Across dozens of distant points, the Ghost Fleet moved. They didn't use standard drives. They didn't leave trails. They didn't send warnings. They used ancient tech, reverse-engineered from long-dead alien wrecks. Gifts the Council never knew humans had found. 100 ships, cloaked, angry, unseen. The galaxy had never seen war like this. Meanwhile, in orbit above the Valdreth homeworld, Emperor Kulrash stood on his command deck watching the stars. He believed in strength. His empire took what it wanted. They called it power, honor, pride. He had laughed when the Council gave Varos to him. A weak human colony, not even worth a full fleet. Now he was nervous. His admirals had not returned. His patrols had not reported in. And tonight, something new appeared on his private screens, a message. It came from no known channel. The screen showed only words. Ghost Fleet is active. Retribution has begun. His eyes narrowed. Trace the source, he shouted. His technicians worked fast, hands flying over controls. Sir, one said, voice trembling, the message came from inside our system. Kulrash stepped forward. Inside? Before the officer could answer, the alarms began to scream. The sky above their capital city turned dark, not from nightfall, but from descending ships. Black ships. Ships with no signal, no heat, and no mercy. And not one of them responded to hails. On the far side of the galactic rim, a Drakari research station picked up strange readings. Ship signatures detected. The scientist said. Pirates? Asked her assistant. She shook her head. No. They're too fast. And they're not following any route. They're surrounding something. What? She zoomed in. A Valdreth dreadnought, 40 kilometers long. Massive weapons. Dozens of escort ships. It was being circled like prey. The research team watched in silence. Then the dreadnought vanished from the scanner. Just gone. No explosion. No wreckage. Just a cold hole in space. The scientist stood up, hands shaking. They're testing us, she said, like a hunter watching which prey runs first. In the heart of the Galactic Council, the High Speaker pounded his staff on the floor. We must respond, he roared. Deploy every fleet, every world must defend itself. But others hesitated. From what? Someone asked. We don't even know where they are. Then we find them. How? They have no trail, no flags, no voice, just destruction. They are human, Jarnock shouted. But even he didn't sound so sure anymore. No one had ever seen humans fight like this. The galaxy had seen human wars before. Fierce, yes, but never like this. This wasn't war. This was punishment. On a shattered moon near the edges of charted space, a mercenary crew found something strange. They had landed for fuel, hoping to avoid the chaos spreading across the core systems. But when they entered an old mining outpost, They found walls painted with red symbols, human letters. They didn't understand the words, but the feeling was clear. Something old had been awakened. One of them, a Grone scout, found a data log. He played it. A voice spoke. Earth does not forgive. The scout dropped the device. His hands trembled. We have to leave, he whispered. Why? Because they're not coming to talk. In orbit around Earth, the official spaceport sat empty. Civilian shuttles were grounded. Stations were quiet. Trade was stopped. Earth had locked itself down. Not out of fear, but because the real war wasn't coming to Earth. It was already spreading from Earth. In hidden bunkers, humans watched the reports. No celebration, no noise, no victory speeches, just data, silent screens, and a quiet countdown. Because the Ghost Fleet wasn't just a weapon, it was a message. We saw what you did. Now you will see who we are. Retaliation games on the industrial world of Kravax. Life had once been loud. Machines grinding, air filled with the thick smoke of starship forges, workers shouting over molten metal. But now, silence. It began with a power loss. Then the outer factories went dark. By the time the local guards arrived, the human strike team was already gone. No deaths, no screams, only precision sabotage. Fuel silos had melted from the inside. Navigation servers were burned out with advanced electronic pulses. Food storage units were left untouched, as if on purpose. The workers returned to find their world, crippled but still alive. It was not an attack. It was a warning. Throughout the galaxy, similar stories spread. Human operatives struck deep into enemy systems, not to kill, but to unbalance. On the trade world of Kelnor, entire economic centers shut down overnight. Planetary currency systems were fried. The rich woke up poor. The powerful were suddenly powerless. On a Drakari moon fortress, every targeting system glitched at once. Drills, security cameras, and war computers started playing the same human message. This is not revenge. This is clarity. No one understood the full meaning, but they understood the fear. Back on Earth, General Aaron Voss reviewed the mission logs. The Ghost Fleet had not destroyed a single planet. Yet 23 enemy colonies had been abandoned. 7 fleets had retreated from their posts. Council officials were quitting, resigning, disappearing. He turned to his officers. They thought, they could humiliate us in a hall of words, he said. Now we speak in silence. Someone asked if they should push harder. Voss looked out the window where a Black Ops team was returning to base. We don't need to burn the galaxy, he replied. We just need to let it burn itself. On the Valdreth world of Ostar, Empress Sylvana called an emergency court. She had watched her empire shrink in days. Systems once proud under her rule were now isolated, afraid, and starting to disobey. Messages from outposts came less and less. One commander even defected to the humans, begging for protection. Cowards, she screamed in the court chamber. Her advisors did not speak. We are being hunted by shadows, she snarled. How do you fight what you cannot see? An old advisor, blind in one eye, finally answered. You don't, he whispered. You beg it to pass over you. She struck him in rage, but her hands were shaking. In the underground market of a neutral world, stories flowed faster than credits. One merchant swore a human ship saved his convoy from raiders, then vanished before he could say thanks. Another claimed a ghost soldier stood in his dream, whispered the name of his dead brother, and left a message etched into his wall the next day. No one could confirm the truth. But the fear was real. Even lies carried power now. And the truth? The truth was worse. In a prison cell orbiting the planet, Merrick's 4, a captured human agent, sat calmly in chains. The guards tried to question him. Who sent you? He didn't speak. How many more are out there? Still no answer. They used force, pain sticks, memory scramblers. Nothing worked. Finally, one of the guards whispered, What do you want from us? The man looked up, finally, and smiled. To remember. Remember what? He leaned forward. That we tried peace. Council broadcasts tried to control the story. Earth has gone rogue, they declared. This is an act of terror, but the people didn't believe it. They remembered how the Council had laughed when Earth was mocked, how they had taken Varos without warning, how humans had said nothing for years, until now. The truth was clear. Earth wasn't starting a war. Earth was responding. And unlike other species, Earth didn't start with fire. It started with strategy and silence. In one of the outer colonies, a young alien girl stood outside her home, looking up at the stars. Her father had told her stories about humans. Brave, soft-spoken, peaceful. Now, everyone said they were monsters. But she wasn't sure. A week ago, a human ship had landed near her village, not to destroy, not to threaten. They came in silence, handed out food supplies and gave medical tools, then disappeared before dawn. She still remembered the look in the human woman's eyes. Tired, calm, not cruel. Her people feared the humans, now, but the girl whispered to herself, maybe they just stopped being kind because no one was kind to them. As fear spread, something else followed it: respect. Some species began to fold their flags. Others sent secret messages to Earth, offering trade, friendship, even apologies. And Earth said nothing. They didn't need to speak. The Ghost Fleet was already writing their response, one move at a time. Secrets of the past in the vast library world of Sendaria, where knowledge floated in glowing archives and time moved slow beneath the golden skies. A lone scholar read in silence. His name was Vikor, a historian of the Vorloon people, known across galaxies for their deep memory and sharp minds. He had seen the reports: ships vanishing, fleets collapsing, colonies left in quiet ruins. The other council members called it chaos. But Vikor felt something else. Pattern. It wasn't random. It was deliberate, precise, planned with cold patience. And it reminded him of something old, something nearly forgotten. Vikor dove into forbidden archives, files sealed for centuries, records from before the Galactic Union, before peace. Back when the stars still burned with tribal flames, he found a name: Earth War Protocol 0, and beside it, classified Extinction Level Threat. He blinked slowly. This wasn't a rumor. It wasn't some old myth. It was real. The files told of humanity's early wars, not against aliens, but against themselves. Oceans boiled, skies cracked, entire continents turned to ash. During one event, named simply the Long Fire, over 3 billion humans died in under 2 weeks. The war ended, not because one side won, but because everyone lost. Then came silence. Then came unity. And from those ashes, Earth swore to build a future without war. But they never forgot how. Vikor's hands trembled as he continued reading. He found references to the Black Phoenix project, an Earth protocol meant for only one thing. When diplomacy ends and the stars forget our kindness, we remind them why we chose peace. Vikor looked up from the glowing data screen. The lights in the room seemed colder now. The quiet felt heavier. He now understood. This wasn't rage. This wasn't revenge. This was restraint, finally removed. Far away, inside an old mining base taken by human operatives, Captain Celine Ward sat across from an alien prisoner, a young intelligence officer from the Elenari. The officer had been captured alive, unharmed, but held under strict watch. He glared at her. "You think you're teaching us something?" he asked. "We won't. Bow to fear." Celine didn't blink. "Fear fades," she said calmly. "Memory doesn't. What do you want?" She leaned closer. "For you to remember how many times we chose silence, how many insults we swallowed, how many treaties we honored when no one else did." The officer sneered. "And now you turn to war." She stood up slowly. "This isn't war," she replied. "It's a warning written in your own language, because you stopped listening to ours." Meanwhile, on the council planet of Zenith Prime, riots shook the lower levels. Citizens demanded answers. Traders refused to enter human space lanes. Food supplies began to thin. Morale cracked like glass under heat. Counselor Jarnock, once proud and loud, now sat alone in his private chamber. He replayed the footage of the council meeting where he had humiliated Ambassador Reyes. Again and again. Each time, Reyes's words echoed quietly. Earth remembers. At the time he had laughed. Now he couldn't sleep. In a backroom meeting on a neutral space station, 7 species gathered in secret, former enemies. Old rivals. They spoke in hushed tones, fearing the humans would hear even across walls. They are not like before, one said. We pushed them too far, said another. A third, older alien sighed. They showed us kindness. We called it weakness. Silence followed. Then someone asked the question no one wanted to say aloud. What do we do now? The answer came from the oldest among them. We pray they stop. In the cold void between star systems, a ghost fleet ship glided silently past the wreck of a Valdreth war cruiser. Inside, 2 human officers reviewed data from a recovered black box. The logs were filled with panic, screams, confusion. The Valdreth had never even seen their attackers. No missiles, no lasers, just darkness, jamming, power failure. Then, silence. The commander of the ship shook his head. We didn't even need to fire, he muttered. Fear did the work for us. The other officer nodded. They spent centuries calling us simple. Now they understand. Human silence isn't empty. It's loaded. Back on Earth, Ambassador Reyes stood before a wall of screens. Each one showed a different sector of the galaxy. Red zones, dark zones, fleeing fleets, failing systems. He did not smile. We are not conquerors, he said to the officers beside him. We are the consequence of their arrogance. One officer, younger and nervous, asked quietly, How far will we go, sir? Reyes replied without emotion. Far enough that no one ever forgets again. And so the stars learned a truth they had ignored. Humanity's greatest weapon was never its ships, never its strength. It was its memory, because humans remembered every insult, every betrayal, every silence. And when they finally answered, they made sure the whole galaxy heard it. The burning stars in the central halls of the Galactic Council, the floor once gleamed with pride and gold, carved from the stones of unity. Now it was cracked. The banners that once flew from every major species were missing. Not removed, ripped down. Meetings grew shorter, arguments louder, and outside the hall, people marched. They weren't marching for justice or power. They were marching for protection, not from humans, but from the silence humans left behind. On the planet Valkren, once a proud capital of the Valdreth Empire, the sky glowed with unnatural fire. People screamed, but no bombs fell, no missiles came. What burned was their fleet. From the inside, every ship had been infected, a silent virus, human-made. One by one, weapons turned against their own systems. Engines shut down mid-flight, crashing into shipyards. Navigation computers broadcast private war logs to the public, revealing betrayal, cruelty, and secrets buried by their rulers. The empire collapsed not from battle, but from truth. In the darkness of a war room deep under the Drakari stronghold, General Kruth held his head in shaking hands. He had once been a god of war. He had led raids into dozens of systems, crushed rebellion with cold skill. He feared nothing, until his daughter woke him in the middle of the night, tears in her eyes. She had seen a dream where humans walked through fire, smiling. And behind them, the stars turned red. He thought it was just a nightmare. Until he saw the footage. A human task force wearing dark armor and walking silently through a breached station. The station had belonged to the Drakari. There had been no alarms, no distress calls. The only thing left was a message, carved into the steel floor with plasma. We remember everything. Back on Earth, the global network remained silent. There were no public broadcasts, no leaders standing before cameras. Humanity didn't need to shout. The galaxy was already listening. In the shadow of Mount Elbrus, deep inside Command Bunker Theta 12, Captain Celine Ward read her next orders. Operation Emberfall, she whispered. It wasn't destruction. It was disruption. Coordinated strikes on communication networks, supply chains, leadership compounds. Everything a civilization needed to keep order. She understood now. This wasn't war. This was an unmaking. On the jungle moon of Zaros 7, an alien girl stood at the edge of her ruined village. Her family had fled when the Council ordered all non-human, allied zones to evacuate. Rumors had spread that humans were coming, but what arrived was different. 3 humans, unarmed, left crates of supplies, medicine, purified water, and simple tools. They fixed the village's power core and left before sunrise. They didn't even speak. The girl asked her grandmother, "Are they the monsters?" The old woman smiled sadly. "No," she said. "They are what monsters fear." Across the galaxy, the Council's power fractured. One species after another began withdrawing support. Alliances crumbled. Trade routes shut down. Even longtime Council guards refused to report for duty. Then, in a final act of desperation, the remaining Council leaders sent a message directly to Earth. "We are ready to talk." No answer came. Instead, at that exact moment, 6 Council worlds lost power. Across each capital, enormous holograms flickered to life. Human symbols, unknown to most, appeared in the sky, glowing blood red. Beneath them, a simple phrase repeated in dozens of languages. "You wanted to know our limits. Now you live inside them." In the silence that followed, a message leaked. Across the blacknet, it was from Ambassador Reyes himself. A private recording. No threats, just truth. "We begged for respect. You gave us mockery. We asked for peace. You handed us punishment. You taught us silence. And now you live in it." In the following weeks, hundreds of alien leaders resigned. Some vanished entirely. Many began rebuilding relationships with Earth, offering apologies, resources, even military aid, not out of duty, but from pure survival instinct. They had seen the stars burn, but they had not seen a single human bomb dropped, not one human city built on conquered land, no flags planted. No speeches, just precision, and mercy laced with warning. In a small outpost on the edge of the galaxy, 2 young alien cadets looked out over a quiet training field. They had been taught to laugh at humans, to see them as relics, soft, slow. Now they trained in silence. No laughter, only discipline. One asked the other, "What do we do if we ever meet one?" The other replied, "We say thank you." Why? Because if they're here, we're still being given a chance. Humanity had shown its power, but they had not taken a single world. They had not crowned a single king. They had only asked for peace, and when denied it, they taught the galaxy what peace truly cost. Now no species is safe. The galaxy never officially surrendered. There was no grand ceremony, no white flags, no broken chains. Instead, the stars simply grew quiet, a silence heavier than war. Trade slowed, conflict stopped. Whole empires began to fold inward, not from human invasion but from fear. Fear of what came when the quiet humans finally stood up and remembered. On the cold desert world of Frexstar, high over its sand-carved capital, a once mighty council flag flapped weakly in the wind. It was half-burned, left in place as a symbol, a warning. No one dared remove it. In the grand hall below, a former warlord sat shaking. He once ordered attacks on human outposts. Now he sat across from a human diplomat, young, quiet, without guards. The warlord expected threats. The human offered terms instead. Not revenge, not conquest. Memory. The deal was simple. The warlord would release prisoners, dismantle illegal fleets, and support peaceful worlds in rebuilding. "Why show me mercy?" the alien asked, voice trembling. The human diplomat didn't smile. Because someone has to start the remembering right. In the drifting remains of the Galactic Council chambers, once the pride of unity, a handful of leaders gathered in shadow. They no longer spoke with confidence. They whispered, "Earth has not taken a single planet," one muttered, "but we've given them 1,000, another replied. They all knew the truth. The Council no longer ruled. Earth didn't either. But its silence had become law. On a classroom, ship orbiting a neutral system, young alien cadets watched a lesson. The screen showed history, edited no longer, the rise of humanity, their wars, their peace, and finally, their silence. One cadet raised a hand. What made them stop being kind? The instructor stared at the screen for a long moment, then answered softly, "We did." Far away, in a quiet garden on Earth, Ambassador Reyes walked among blooming trees. He was older now, slower, but still sharp. Beside him walked Celine Ward, now an admiral. They said little. They didn't need to. Above them, satellites kept watch, not on Earth, but on the stars beyond. Not out of fear of being attacked, but to make sure the silence held. Celine finally asked, "Do you think they understand now?" Reyes stopped near a tree and touched the bark. "They understand one thing," he said. "We were never weak. We were patient." He looked up at the sky, and when patience breaks, there is no safety left. In a dark corner of the galaxy, a small pirate crew intercepted an old human signal. Curious, they played it. It was a voice clear, cold, and calm. "To all who rise in cruelty, we will not warn again, we will not burn worlds, we will burn the reasons you stand on them." They shut it off and erased their plans to raid a colony nearby. Not all species feared humans now. Some followed them, not out of fear, but from respect. The Krajan, once enemies, now sent engineers to rebuild Varos, the human colony once stolen by the Council. They worked under human guidance, learning quiet discipline. The Elinari built a peace monument, a ring of silent stars orbiting a dead moon, one for every species who once laughed at Earth. And the Gronai, they changed their anthem. One verse now said, "We feared the flame but forgot the spark. Now we honor the hands that held both." In the end, humanity never built an empire. They didn't need to. Their message moved faster than warships. Never confuse silence with weakness. Never confuse peace with surrender. Never forget what humanity can become when it no longer tries to be kind. A new star map was drawn. On its edges, near the Sol system, a phrase glowed in ancient human script. Respect earned through silence. Every ship that passed it slowed. Every captain bowed. No species was safe from memory. No empire was stronger than restraint. And from that day on, no one ever again dared push humanity too far.